Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. And we have with us a real entrepreneur, someone who founded a company and then sold it to a bigger company. And now uh, he's growing it even further. Brett Jurgens of Notions, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You're CEO and founder. So, with that as a jumping off point, I'm going to ask you tell us a little bit first about your background, your personal background, then a little bit about your company, and finally a website.
Yeah, it sounds great. So, Brett Jurgens from Colorado. We're based in Denver. Went to college at CU, finance and real estate degrees, and started my first company actually in college. It was a small marketing company trying to get local area businesses to, basically market better and more effectively to new students coming into the college. And actually went through an investment banking seminar class as a senior in college, and thought that'd be a great kind of kickoff to my career. So started out in investment banking. Specifically, I was doing private placements, 20 to $100 million deals. Interesting side point, it was between 2007 and 2009. So things started out great and ended really poorly with my experience with banking, with what happened with the market then, that it was a heck of a learning experience for me to figure out what businesses were getting funded, how they were getting funded, how they were dealing with such a difficult situation, kind of from a macro perspective. At that point, I knew I was either going to start a business or work for a startup. So actually went and joined first employee at a consumer product startup in the over-the-counter medication space of all things. Really, for me, entrepreneurship on training wheels in a bigger way. That company raised quite a bit of money, ended up being acquired. And towards the tail end of my experience with that company, started my current company, Notion. And we have grown the company over the past 7 years. We were acquired a little over a year ago by Comcast. We can get into that. And the company, you can find out more about it from beyond what you're going to hear today at getnotion.com. So GETNOTION.com.
Okay. And what does the Notions do?
So Notion is really all about reducing property risk for both, I'd say, property owners and partners. Notion, we actually started out making this device, a small sensor that can monitor anything that you can think of in a home or a small business. So when you think of a home security system, but kind of going beyond that, things like doors opening, windows breaking, alarms sounding, water leaks, temperature, humidity, there's a whole myriad of things that these can do. And when we first started the company, we thought this was going to be a smart smoke alarm. And people liked the idea, but they thought it was going to be really expensive to buy a smoke alarm. It was a smart smoke alarm. And most people don't really buy smoke alarms. They actually just use the alarm that's in the property they have already. It's not something as a consumer you really think about buying very often. So we really started to talk to customers. We probably talked to, I don't know, 150 customers early on, kind of structured interviews, and like really started to understand what homeowners and small business owners wanted to know more about, wanted to protect, wanted to monitor. And we sort of changed the concept a bit to this multifunction device, this multifunction sensor, where you can just peel and stick it up anywhere in a property. So all do-it-yourself, DIY, self-installed product, full mobile apps, and then we have data and analytics on the back end doing a lot more advanced things for some of our partners. So the second piece for us, beyond the technology of monitoring and risk reduction, really started to get into our go-to-market strategy. We took the company through a pretty well-known tech accelerator early on called Techstars, and during that process, we really made a decision to partner with companies to go to market rather than direct to consumer and retail. So today, to fast forward, about, I'd say 98% of our distribution is through and with insurance companies. So actually pairing insurance policies with smart home protection devices like Notion, really, we believe 1 + 1 = 3. So most of our customers today get Notion at no charge. Insurance companies get to reduce risk of property along with the homeowner or the small business owner. And that really starts to set up for a different level of insurance, a different level of security than could have been provided before.
Wow. Well, let me see if I understand. So your device, you put it on in someplace in the house. So if a window breaks, it triggers an alarm. If a door is open when it shouldn't be open, am I hearing it correctly?
Yeah, so one device can monitor for multiple things simultaneously. Is kind of one important point to make. We did that really for ease of use, so you don't have to have different devices to monitor the different things that you want to. We also did it so you could have fewer devices. One device can monitor multiple things, so you have to have fewer. So the cost aspect is lower. So doors opening, garage doors opening, refrigeration units in restaurants going out or leaking, leaks in bathrooms, maybe being unsafe in public places. Like there's a myriad of examples here. We have some really creative use cases, people putting these on dog doors and things like that to know when their dog's going in and outside. But I think that's kind of the beauty of what we've built is you can use it the way you want for your property, for your needs. All that information then does go to a mobile app or to property managers or whomever you want it to be sent to. So you're able to get the right information to the right people at the right time.
Wow. How come I've never heard about this?
Well, we launched about 3 years ago, so it's not been on the market, for 10 years or a really, really long time. And I think one of the biggest things for us is we really have picked a B2B to C go-to-market strategy, like I said. So coming through insurance products, we do a lot of co-branding, we do some white label work with some of our partners as well. And so we've just had less of a direct-to-consumer kind of marketing presence than maybe some of the other companies that you've maybe heard of in the space, like Ring and Nest and those guys.
Okay, let me back up. I'm here in Jacksonville. My house, I have a house in Palisades Park. I can take your device, put it up there, and know that if somebody, for instance, knocked out a window in the back, I would know about it here. Don't know
Yep.
what I could do about it, but I would know it's here. Correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So you would get an alert instantly to your phone. One of the biggest things that we like to talk about as well when it comes to property risk, a lot of people think about theft. A lot of people think about those break-in moments. The security industry's done a good job of sort of promoting that as a very serious and emotional thing. But water leaks are actually, one of the largest causes of damage to a home. They happen way more frequently than theft or fire. So I think one of the big things that we always like to talk about and to promote from a property protection perspective is really putting these near water heaters, near washing machines, in the kitchen for the different appliances, the water using appliances you have in the kitchen, and those instantly go to your phone. So from there, you have the opportunity to call the police instantly, to pass on the information to a neighbor, or we do have an integration with Home Advisor owned by Angie's List, where you can click a button and instantly get a plumber to contact you who's highly rated and available, that's kind of in your area. So you can kind of quickly get somebody to come fix a water leak or a frozen pipe or those kinds of things. Frozen pipe, maybe not in Florida, but I'm in Denver, so we think about some other temperatures some of the time. But all of these things are kind of, going back to the point of specific to what you're worried about, specific to what you want to protect. And again, home or small business, there's a lot of business use cases here that are really impactful for business owners as well.
But for instance, I have ADT,
Mm-hmm.
but it only covers break-in. If I hear you right, you do a more expanded role. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, I think I would say it's more expanded and customizable just in terms of where you can utilize these devices, right? So, I think one of the things about traditional security systems is they are most of the time at least promoted this way for break-in and for fire. And so you're protecting kind of the perimeter of a property. A lot of folks use motion sensors inside the home, right? So a lot of people are using these on medicine cabinets to make sure an elderly parent is up and moving around. Some folks use them on gun safes and liquor cabinets, those kinds of things internally. Those wouldn't necessarily be, traditional home security use cases from a door opening and a motion perspective. And then again, going back to my points on temperature and water, this is a huge area that's sort of, not life threatening. So it hasn't been promoted as much, but really, I always say people should have water leak detection way before they should have a home security system, just because of the likelihood of a water event actually happening in a home, and the amount of money that it costs for that to happen. About somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 for a water leak typically is the claim that gets filed, and about 2% of homes every year have a water leak claim that gets filed. Those numbers are considerably lower for theft and fire.
Could I buy your product someplace?
Yeah, absolutely. So, most people can get our product for free from their insurance provider. If we don't have a specific partnership with your insurance provider, again, either on the home or the small business side, you can go to getnotion.com and buy direct, just like you would anything on the internet. The one thing I would add on here, though, is you likely can, and you have to contact your insurance company, but you can likely also get insurance discounts for installing our products. Many insurance companies have smart home product discounts in addition to this home security discounts that they've offered for years. So that would be something else to check into.
Well, I just changed insurance people last year, and they did not mention it. So I'm not. I won't mention which one on the air, but
Yeah.
I will be calling them. But um, but if I bought it online from you, what are we talking about? What's the cost?
Yeah, so 5 sensors are usually on our website, kind of list prices 199. Um, again, I go back to the example of insurance, though. The vast majority of our active users today haven't paid anything for their system, and the insurance companies are really motivated to subsidize the cost of these devices because of the added protection that they provide, because of the data over time that can be used for essentially better insurance and better risk analysis.
Well, we'll definitely do that. But you're here also to talk about something else. Am I correct?
What's the something else? I think so, but go ahead.
No, no. Um, again, I haven't found my notes on this meeting, but you're here because you want to talk about something else. Am I right?
Um, well, I think one of the big things for us is our acquisition by Comcast last year. Um, that's one category that I think is kind of important to just sort of paint the picture of where maybe the IoT category is going, and where some other aspects of this could go. So that's one of the big pieces of news for us. Partnering with such a big company with so many resources, managing and monitoring billions of devices around the country, I think is really going to be interesting for us as we continue to grow, both from a support perspective, but then also just from a technology roadmap perspective. So I'd add that in.
But my first question is, why would Comcast want to get in your business?
Yeah. Well, so Comcast has a long history of home security, and I think they're always looking for more ways to help people protect their properties. They have a very large Comcast business division where they support businesses. They obviously have a very large footprint in homes, and so for us and for Comcast alike, anything that they can do to continue to expand the footprint in the home and to continue to expand their relationship with property owners, broadly speaking, to help them protect is really interesting. They also recently came out with some protection features for internet. So there's kind of this theme that I've been saying, at least, kind of connect and protect. So, literally connecting people to the internet, connecting TVs, doing that whole piece of this. And then also the protection angle, I think, is just a very natural extension of what they do today. and having this be so easy to install, to combine with their current product suite, to allow people to expand beyond traditional security, is really just an interesting thing for them to get involved in going forward.
Did they approach you or did you approach them?
We had a partnership leading up to the acquisition that kind of prompted a good relationship that ended up turning into something that made sense for both the business and for Comcast.
Hmm. So, well, let's go back to the beginning. You had a partnership. You obviously have a good product. You excited me. I'm sure anybody that's listening is going to be excited. But now, Comcast is a big company. Why would you want to go with them rather than keep going on your own?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of entrepreneurs sort of face those decisions once they reach a certain point. And we had some good conversations internally about continuing to go down the path, raising more money. We are venture backed, or we're a venture backed company. And for us, having that initial partnership really allowed us to know who we would be working with. That was kind of point number one. So I think a lot of acquisitions happen, and both sides, the acquiring company and the company that's being acquired, may not necessarily know the culture. They may not necessarily know who they're going to be working with as much. In this case, we just had a longer standing partnership there that allowed us to have a better sense for kind of what life would be like after a deal may happen. So that was kind of the first piece. The second piece is we just felt that sort of the alignment with the strategy going forward would allow us to grow Notion bigger, faster, with the level of support that we thought we would need at a national level, with someone like Comcast. And it's really just about their knowledge of connectivity, their knowledge of how to operate these kinds of operations at scale, and those types of aspects. And they have just a lot of ecosystem partners as well, and a lot of cachet. One of the things I would add too is we work a lot with insurance companies. And insurance companies are by nature pretty risk averse. And so, one of the interesting things after the deal happened, and we thought that this would be the case, is they said, look, we always loved what you did as Notion. And we had a number of pilots running with some insurers at the time. But we never loved that you were a startup because big insurance companies really want to partner with companies that are bigger, oftentimes, that they know are going to be around for the next 100 years, right? So there's a little bit of that aspect too, that we thought it would speed up some of our business development and sales efforts. It definitely has done so. Just being able to come in and say, look, we're Notion, we can move quick, we can still be really innovative, but we're really backed by Comcast, and it's really Comcast kind of knocking on your door now. So there's just a lot of reasons that lined up really well for us, and we were excited about the ultimate kind of future for the business, being a part of Comcast.
Before we go any further, your website again for people that want to know more.
Yeah, getnotion.com. It's GETNOTION.com.
Okay. Well, you're CEO. You're in effect, if you're venture backed, you had other, but you were your own leader when you're a smaller company inside a company like Comcast. The relationship changes. What did you find?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of topics to talk about. I think going from kind of independent to owned and still being the company leader. So a long-term friend of mine co-founded the business with me. So for a very long time, it was kind of the two of us with a leadership team running the company, making the decisions, fundraising, managing all of that. And I think one of the things that's been really interesting and unique here is we have been able to maintain quite a bit of autonomy over kind of how we grow the company, and then also our culture. And that doesn't always happen when you get acquired. Sometimes companies kind of get split up. Sometimes they put people on different projects. I'm still, the CEO of Notion. I'm still running Notion. I'm not off doing 10 other things at Comcast. I'm helping with some other great efforts, but I'm really, my job is to continue to grow Notion, as is everybody else's here. And so that has been a really unique part, I think, in this case for us, and a telling piece about anybody else who's talking to Comcast, just coming in and being able to kind of continue to do what we like to do, continuing to maintain our culture. We have a bunch of employees who one day we're working at a startup and the next day we're working at a Fortune 50 company. And I think that if all of a sudden we would have been sort of, changed in major ways, I think a lot of those people that kind of have that startup DNA, that smaller company DNA, it would have rubbed them the wrong way, right? That's bad for Comcast, just as bad as it would be for all of our employees. And so when I say we knew who we'd be working with and for, when we had that established relationship prior to the acquisition happening, like we really had a good feeling for what it was going to be like. And I'd say, 95% of that has come true. There's always going to be a few things you don't fully know, but that was part of kind of how we got brought in, and how we've continued to maintain some of that autonomy today has been very important for our culture, and really for our retention. That's been a huge piece of our story in the last year since that deal went through.
Well, what about when talking to other entrepreneurs in your situation? They say the worst part is having to ask for the money to grow.
Yeah. I was having to ask for the money to grow before as well, is kind of the way that I think about it. I was out fundraising and with, mostly VCs and some strategics before that. That took up a ton of my time. Now it so happens I have a single investor and they have a very aligned interest with what we're doing, and have a lot of strategic benefit to bring to the table. And so I think there's different sort of taxes to pay, whether you are an independent company or whether you are acquired and work at a bigger company now. And the finance tax, so to speak, to me sort of just transferred from one much longer list of people that I had to convince to invest to a finance department who keeps a tab on what we're doing. So different people, a little bit of a different process in terms of corporate finance, kind of investing, if you will, versus VC investing. But there's also, I think, some benefits to it. And one of those is a long-term view, right? The folks at Comcast have a much longer term view on growth and on the world than some VCs do. So you pay a tax either way, you got to raise money either way, you got to fund businesses either way. And I think it's just shifted a little bit in terms of how we do it, but it's still just part of the job, the way I see it.
I've always said that finance people learn only one word: no.
Well, I have a finance degree, but I've been an entrepreneur long enough to where I'm trying to say yes almost every day. And look, I think for us, it's just about establishing relationships, just like you would with investors externally. It's the same holds true for folks internally. And I think that there's just a broader view, especially at Comcast, about the things we bring to the table and can accomplish. Not all of those things are always financial day one. There's a lot of things that we've done that we've brought into the organization that have made positive change. And so, I think they're looking at some of that too.
Well, let me ask you about the people that you were with before, well, in the startup and entrepreneurial stage. Have most of them stayed? And if so, have they found any differences?
Yeah, so the employees that we've had, we have had about, what would the number be? I think we've had about only 3 or 4% turnover since the acquisition. It's been incredibly low. And it's just a very small handful of people. 2 people actually went and took some jobs, great opportunities at other startups, very early stage companies. They wanted to get back into the 4 or 5 person size company. And so I think that we did a very good job early on of making sure we were very transparent with the group, and there was a lot of benefit for folks to stay. We've really kept the team intact, and we've grown the team pretty significantly since that all happened. And I'm really proud of that. I think it speaks to the culture that we had and the people that we hired in the first place. Um, I don't think that most people at Notion would say that the day to day has really changed all that much. The last year is just an anomaly with COVID happening and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of weird things, to say the least, that have changed. Just working remote and not being around each other as much. We made a lot of hires in the last 6 months. We've never met in person. That part feels weird to us because we're a very tight knit startup culture. And we've had to do a lot of things, put in a lot of effort, remotely and virtually that I think people really feel. I think they feel how much effort we've tried to put in to make Notion a great place to be. But I wouldn't say that the vast majority of our employees have really noticed much of a change. Our roadmap is the same, if not accelerated. A lot of the folks that we work with at Comcast now are really just enablers for what we're doing. And our partnership and our sales efforts, those kinds of things are all the same as well. So we really have been left alone to some degree. I think in a lot of the right ways has allowed us to kind of keep doing what we're doing, which has been a really positive thing for, again, going back to that retention point.
Brett Jurgens, your website one last time.
Yeah, getnotion.com.
Okay. Brett, we reached almost the end of our time. What would you like to leave our audience with today?
I think a few more points. Ask your insurance company about what they're doing with Notion or even with other IoT companies in the space. There's a lot of great things happening with, home security and IoT more broadly. And there's a lot of discounts that you can get. There's a lot of things around water and temperature that you should be doing to protect your home. And it can be done very inexpensively, whether that's with Notion or some of our competitors out there. There's a lot of great things out there that I think people just don't think about as proactively. So I'll say that point. And, I guess the last point, just kind of at a broader scale, hope everybody is healthy. I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody is feeling a little bit of excitement getting back into the summer, and hopefully some things get back to normal for everybody. So thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And to any listeners, feel free to get in touch with us at getnotion.com.
On that note, Brett and Jurgens, thank you so much.